Some tea, maybe it's the dry air. And then it got to like close to like my bedtime last night, and I was like, oh my god, I'm coughing, oh my god, I'm sniffling, oh my god, I feel really cold.
I'm gonna die.
Yeah, I was like, oh no. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, and Itisdpayne.
Fight the power. Fight the power.
Every movie should start with a music video, honestly.
I know.
It's a much more fun way to show the list of like actors in it without me losing total focus.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, this is still going. Okay, cool.
I wish I could dance. I wish I was that good at dancing.
Yeah, I know I'm not, and I'm just like, and then there was like certain dance moves. I'm like, that hurt her back. Anyway, we can get into that in a bit, but I'm just really, I don't know if I have any fun stories.
I guess I'll just say it out now. If I sound different, apologies. So this is the signs I can tell I was getting sick. So yesterday I left the house to go into work, and I was like, I know it's cold and wintry weathery. My lips are really chapped. Let me chug a bunch of water. And they never seem to get any better. And then I was like, oh, my throat's a little itchy. Let me make myself some tea. Maybe it's the dry air. And then it got to like close to like my bedtime last night, and I was like, oh my god, I'm coughing. Oh my god, I'm sniffling. Oh my god, I feel really cold.
I'm gonna die.
Yeah, I was like, oh no. And then I chugged more water, and even though I was home and indoors, I was like, my lips are getting drier. And I was like, Strider, am I getting sick? He's like, you're probably getting sick. So
No.
So if you also usually watch this in video format on YouTube, I will not have video up this time because I basically laid in bed. I told my job, I was like, hey, I know we usually have a morning meeting. I think I'm going to go back to bed. I'll try and come back on in the afternoon. Apparently I slept for 5 hours and coughed the whole time. And, you know, it feels nice laying in bed versus sitting upright because my head is like, did you know it's heavy? I'm like, you shouldn't be, but okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I had any fun cold ailments. We
had a recording recently where you said that you were feeling a bit off, but I can't remember if it was this series or the last series.
It was probably the last series. Probably. I don't know.
Tis the season.
Yeah, 'tis the season of death. And my big thing right now is it is eczema season, and where the hands get all dried out. And it was fun is when I'm just working, and then I'm like, okay, everything's cool, and I look down, and it's like my hand looks like an anime protagonist fight where it's just like blood is shooting out because I have blood magic. This is fun.
I did finally find a product that's helped me with my eczema. I'll have to send you a link afterwards because not sponsored, but basically
But we can be.
I don't use all of their products, but what I did order is like a balm cream, and I put that on before bed, and then they also sell cotton gloves, so I put the gloves over top so I don't get goop everywhere, and it keeps it on my hands. And it's like, when I remember to use it and I don't fall asleep first, it does at least help the open cracks in my hands close, so then I can actually heal my hands versus, you know, the insufferable part where you're like, I have to wash my hands, it burns. I have to cook food, it burns. So let me remember to send that link to you before I forget. They sent me so many emails though, I had to like unsubscribe from their emails for a little bit.
Oh yeah, no, I do that with I feel like any company does that now. I think my favorite part of that, of like when my hands get like that, it being very very unserious, but like when I'm like holding like a hammer or tool at work, and then it's just like I feel my knuckle, I'm like, why did it feel like something released? And I look down, I'm like, oh, that's why. I got a big old cut in my knuckle, and I didn't even touch anything except the air. Isn't it fun being allergic to the air?
So I sent you the cream and the gloves. You don't need the gloves, but I just did it because like I know I think I have the tendency when I'm asleep, I'll pick at my hands because for my eczema, I get the patches of large like dry skin. So this way I can't pick at anything because I don't have my fingers essentially turn into little
Yeah. My
cotton nubs.
my hand turns into sandpaper, like my whole knuckles, and it's like, but like blood sandpaper. But then it will be fun and travel like up my whole arm, and I'm like, yay. You
Yeah,
know what
mine
this
usually stops at my wrists.
this reminds me of a fun story back a couple of years. Like it was when COVID restrictions were slowing down, but then monkeypox showed up. And
Yeah, the lethal thing for people with eczema. Yes,
yeah, and
yes.
so and I remember this going around. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, and I at the time I knew, like, okay, this makes it sound like you don't pay attention, but like you were always more cued into stuff like this than I am. So I was just like, I'm like, I need to travel on an airplane because I think this is before you switched jobs. I'm like, is there or like right around the same time you were doing that, and I was like, do you got any tips like for COVID traveling? And you're like, well, you want to watch out for monkeypox and you want to do this, and it's like I went out and bought a long sleeve T-shirt because I didn't have any long sleeve T-shirts and wore the mask. And like my brother was like, he was like riding next to me, just like, why are you wearing a mask? Why are you doing this? And I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm not dying today.
Yeah, like even me, like I had some stuff to concerts and they were like outdoors. So I didn't wear like a full long sleeve, but what I would do is I crocheted myself kind of like not to say fishnet, but it was something that was like longer sleeve but had a lot of holes in it, so it wasn't hot, but it had like at least like if somebody else wasn't wearing sleeves, I at least had like something to get in the way of them touching me directly to my skin. I also wasn't trying on clothes and I wasn't like wearing anything without at least washing it once. What else? Oh, and then I think they said that there was an expected surge again. I feel like it was either this last summer or like within the last 6 months. And I was like, all right, I'll wear a long sleeve t-shirt and like shorts to this concert because like usually if I'm standing next to people at a concert, you're bumping arms more than you're bumping legs. But I couldn't wear jeans and long sleeve shirt, and you know, in case I would pass out. But yeah, oh the joys.
Yeah. So, but anyway, hey everyone, welcome to February. That's the date that it is. It is.
Yes.
It is February 3rd.
Unless you're listening to this at sometime after its initial
Nope,
release.
no, it's no matter what day it is. It's February 3rd, and remember, fight the power. Yeah. So, if this is your first episode, by the way, this is like the first recording I think since we had a couple episodes go live. AK, I remembered we had the YouTube channel, and so I looked at it, and we had a pretty good listening gathering. Hopefully, we didn't offend everyone. I almost said Frank Sinatra. We're not talking about Frank Sinatra. With some of our opinions of
Kubrick.
Frank Sinatra, yeah, Kubrick, for the YouTube video. If everyone saw my face aglow, it's because I had to open up the the stinking list. But we are moving on for every month. For the legendary directors, we have a different director every month, and this month we're doing Spike Lee. And yeah, it's like I don't know if it's the right word, so I'm not going to say it, but it's like it's almost like a foretelling, the movie that we watched. Like it was like predicting the future. Like so it's one of those, this movie, it's just like, wow, I wasn't expecting this movie to be made 35 years ago.
Like I said, that's how I felt reading The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin, where I was like, she wrote this 50 years ago.
So, but yeah, the first movie we're watching is Do the Right Thing, and
we have a set of questions that we're going to ask each other, as we have been doing for every movie that we're doing across the series. But before that, we also will do just a quick summary, no spoilers yet. And after we get through the summary and questions, then it's spoiler town. So
Yes.
you have been warned. But
Spoiler town is best town.
But we will be rolling 12-sided dice because we're watching 12 different directors throughout this whole series. And whoever rolls the highest gets to be the one to give us the summary. So I think so far we're both even across the episodes now, right? You did the first two, I did the last two.
Yes, so we can break a tie. I'm rolling now. Well, this can go either way.
I rolled pretty low.
How about you?
I rolled a 4.
Well, you do know the dice do have a rule of if you're not feeling well, you normally have to do most of the talking.
Oh, good. Yes.
So I'm here to tell you that I rolled a 6.
Heck yeah. So you got to deal with meetings and now you talk. So the dice still knew. Still knew.
Yeah. It was good meetings, though. Like, I have been in bad meetings. But these ones were good ones.
That's good.
All right. So the quick synopsis of Do the Right Thing. We are following pretty much a block, the city block in, not upstate New York, in New York City.
Bed-Stuy.
Yes. If that's in like Brooklyn for if people don't know where that is, like me. So, but anyway, they were there pretty much. It all takes place on this corner where there's a pizza shop owned by an Italian family. There's a grocery store owned by a Korean family, and we pretty much see the life of pretty much everybody on the street, of all the different points of views and everything. And pretty much this movie is as it is a heat wave. Does it even say when it is? Anyway, that doesn't really matter, but it's a heat wave in the middle of the summer. And pretty much as heat rises, tensions and racial tensions begin to grow that have been there for a while, to the point where it all comes to a head. And this movie just explores different points of views of just kind of as tensions rise in this little neighborhood. And I don't know, because I feel like this is one of those movies, like, you start to say one thing, and then it kind of snowballs into, like, spoilers and other stuff, so...
Yeah, I would say, like, in some ways, the beginning of this movie is, like, almost, like... I don't think slice of life is the word, but it makes you feel like you get to be, like, truly part of the community. And then as things start to, like, it gets hotter in the environment, aka the tensions begin to rise more and more, then it becomes almost like it like comes off to me like some of the literary fiction books I really like to read, where you just everything that could go wrong is going wrong.
Yes.
And you're seeing it from all different perspectives so that, you as an observer can go, oh, I see their side of things, but it's still not good.
Yes. I think there's also maybe just a good time, because I know you're really good at this. I normally am not. But, like, if there's people, like, for, I guess, like, trigger warning stuff, because I think there's, I don't know if people get past this point of the episode, but there's a lot of, like, racial terms that are not uplifting in this movie. So if that is not your jam, there's also violence, that police brutality and violence, and
general racism.
Yeah. So now I will say, as I told Hop, like, it is in there, but it's not like it fits the story.
It's not used for being edgy. It's used as a particular tool to explain the tensions of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even though some of the scenes you're just like, what? Like, why does that have to do with anything? And then I realized after watching this movie and then giving myself time to think over it, I'm like, okay, that's how I need to watch some of these movies. I can't, like, I know there's going to be future ones where it's just like, okay, we watched it and go right into it. But I'm like, I need to digest these movies sometimes before we go into talking about them. And then I guess before we go into the questions, I did do a little poking around to see what Spike Lee is known for.
His role in this movie.
But yes. Besides that, but not just this movie, but like his directorial style.
Oh yeah, things to look out for.
Yeah. So and we see this a lot in this movie, where he pretty much has whoever is talking be the center focus of the shot. And then when they are done talking and someone else's turn it is to talk, the camera puts them on as like the focus of the shot. And there's a lot of scenes that do that. There's like especially in the pizza shop when Sal is talking with people, oh shoot, I'm blanking on his name.
I do like the angles he used when you knew that like an argument was like right about to boil.
Yeah.
Like especially like it. I think Sal has several moments like that.
Yes.
But like the first time that Radio Raheem
Yep,
comes in.
I was trying to remember what his name was, but that's what I was about to bring up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like seeing the disjointed angles and like and also emphasizing the height differences between the two characters.
Mm-hmm.
I liked those shots a lot. Yeah.
Yes. So that's one of his standards. You can definitely tell he is a newer director, and like not that he's like fresh on the scene, but his taste in colors is like, not to compare. I feel like Spike Lee and Kubrick are two completely different directors. So like I don't want to be like say this one's better than the other, but even looking at one of Kubrick's more modern films where the color palette there was a lot of designs that we saw in there, but like Spike Lee his colors and stuff just really, I mean, like at least in this movie we'll see, like I read that in other movies like he has really good like color choices and palettes that really like kind of catch the eye with the scene. And then the last thing that I agree, like the way he does cameras stuff, where it's like there's like I know there's I don't know if it's called Dutch angle. There's a camera term for it. Let me look it up. But like he does. He pretty much does like there's a couple scenes, like there's one where everyone's sitting on a stoop and like he has the camera set at an angle, but like the way they're sitting on the stoop makes them look their center, while when we look at the scene as a whole, it's like the whole building's at an angle and up, and it's like there's another scene like that's just like he I'm blanking on people's name, where Mookie is delivering pizza and the camera's like pulled all the way out, and we see life in these shots. It's not just like a still
happening
shot
all around him.
Yeah. So like there's like he's delivering a pizza and there's like, oh yeah, whatever, and there's a kid playing on the stairs as this girl like comes down the stairs and leaves, and the shot just like leaves and she's just like, hey kid, whatever, blah blah blah. So let's see. I don't know if Dutch angle would be the correct term for it, but anyway, it's the Dutch angle is known for a type of camera shot that involves setting the camera at an angle so the shot is comprised of vertical lines at an angle to the side of the frame, so that the horizon line is not. Yeah, okay, I would say this. So the horizon line of the shot is not parallel with the bottom of the frame. So, aka, as we were saying, like the buildings were kind of tilted where the bottom of the frame was, like in some of the shots, and so I think he does a lot of Dutch angles.
Okay.
So, That's all of it for a lot of words.
I learned something new today.
Yeah, it's neat. So anyway, I'm pretty sure there's more stuff, but like,
At least those two things to look out for
Yeah.
in future movies.
Yeah, so like his choice of camera shots, and then also like kind of his bright, eye-catching kind of color palettes that he kind of has. Which, looking at some of the movies that are on here, like I guess we'll see how it goes up. But
I was just gonna mention I was looking through his list of movies to see, because you said like you can tell this is earlier in his career. I was curious what his latest movies are, because I know that like I think Black Klansman is one that we do have planned to watch, and that one's one of his newer movies. And it looks like he does have an A24 movie planned, but it might only be on Apple TV, coming out spring of this year. So it's a shame.
yeah, it might be how they get me to have. We'll have to see if we can get a free. Can we get a free month of Apple TV just to watch that and leave? So,
but in any case, so questions for each other. So, Dpayne,
Yes.
since you gave the summary, if this was the only movie you watched by the director, would you watch the rest of their catalog?
I feel like I'm in a unique situation where this is the only movie I believe I saw of this director, and yes.
Same.
Yes.
Yes.
I would give this.
I really like this
So
movie.
did I. I really liked it.
I'm scared that the rest of the movies I'm not going to like as much.
I know, same
like,
here. But
there
I'm
was
like,
a point of this where I was curious if this was almost semi-autobiographical, because he has the line in it where he goes, "I'm going to write the movie one day." And I was like, it's not going to get better than that, is it?
yeah. I will say the 40 Acres and a Mule. I don't know if you.
Company.
Yeah, that's his company. So like all.
That makes sense. That is a reference to, moving out west and American colonization and all that, yeah.
Yeah, so like all his. So it'll be interesting to see, because I don't know if all his movies are made from his indie company, his indie film company. So it'll be interesting if we see if some of these if one of the movies, we'll have to check.
Right.
But if any of them are made by like a different production company to see
It
if.
looks like... So let me look at the list that we have. So Malcolm X is listed under the Wikipedia as also being under 40 Acres. Black Klansman is as well. What's the last one we have?
Give me
Inside
one second.
Man.
Inside Man.
I don't see... Oh, yeah, that is also.
Oh, okay.
But they're all in association with different like distributors. So
Yeah.
that could also change things.
Yeah.
So
it'll
do
be
the
interesting.
right... Yeah, Do the Right Thing, I believe, is Universal.
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm X is Warner Bros. Inside Man is Universal again.
Alright.
And then Black Klansman is Focus, or
Focus.
Focus Features
Focus.
in the
Okay.
U.S.
Okay. So it'll be interesting to see how.
The influences
Yeah.
come into play. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I know we gave this like what would be the letter grade, but some of these I'm just like, I feel like it's just a yes or a no.
Well, Stanley Kubrick, we had depends.
Yes.
Like they're yeah.
If you're okay with this, I feel like if we're okay, if it's just yes or no, we'll say that, and then if it's like a maybe, then we'll give the letter grade.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I mean, because the reason we did the letter grade is before we just did 1 through 5, and we didn't feel like it was a good enough like separating factor. But we were also specifically ranking movies.
Yes. Yeah. So,
Right.
but yeah, but no, I am looking forward to see more of his movies, and I just closed the file, so I don't remember. I immediately forgot what we're watching next, but I think it's Malcolm X. But
Yes.
I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah. So then, how much did you root for the characters?
Which one? Let's see. There's some. I like the story as a whole, and I think what you said earlier, where it's just like, you can see how different tensions are rising with different people, and but like how like things are connected, and like and just how they interact. And so it's like I understand why this one group, like I understand why the pizza shop is at least
I don't understand the son, but I understand
not the son,
the dad
not the son,
and the youngest.
but the dad, yes, the dad and the youngest. Let me rephrase this. I understand, or at least I can see why the dad acts the way he does, of just like
keep his old ways,
and just like some of the interactions that he has, and then just kind of how the tensions keep getting built and built and built. But on the same time, like I can also see, I've actually worked with people that are like Mookie, and just just him wanting to do what he wants, but at the same time, I understand like where his sister's coming from, and what she's trying to tell him, and everything. So it's like I don't know if I was ever rooting for any one character, but
I was rooting for the downfall of a particular set of characters.
Yes.
Well, I guess technically two groups of characters, but it's like I've said in other recordings, ACAB. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like this is one of those things where I feel like this movie did a really great job of making you feel like part of the community, in terms of there's a lot of imperfections when it comes to a community of people, especially a community of people that are forced to kind of figure it out when society doesn't want to give them a chance to figure it out. Mm-hmm. So it makes it hard for these characters to necessarily be like, oh, that's the protagonist or the antagonist. There's a lot of people that are like, they're trying, and then there's a lot of systems against the same people that are also trying. So I think for me, like, this is one of those movies where it's like, it's less about rooting for characters, but like that like you hope things are gonna change, but then like you can
there. In short, this really feels like if you read a fantasy book where there's multiple points of view, and like they all have their own. If the book is written well, that like there's all these, like there's an overarching story, but each of these characters have their own goals and desires and motivation. That was the word I was looking for. Thank you. And do the right thing. It is that, but I feel like if you're not paying attention, the overarching story, like the theme, can be skipped until like you're not really seeing it until the end.
Like, where all the tensions come to.
I will say this movie I wouldn't mind watching a second time.
There's a lot I could probably get from rewatching this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't disagree. But yeah, so I don't know. Rooting for the characters is a different thing. But like, I mean, we kind of talked about what grade we would give the plot. I feel like both of us would give this a very high grade.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think for me, overall maybe like A minus, only because certain parts are like, I understand why we're here, but some parts I felt like were drawn on, like...
Yes.
Like, I know sex sells, and I'm like, I get what this scene is trying to convince me that he's doing as a character, but this scene's taking a really long time. And also, he already got yelled at 6 times that day about don't linger when you deliver your pizza, and he's lingering after he delivers the pizza, but like...
He lingered a long time.
All the other times he lingered for pizza, they just showed it in like 5-minute bursts to kind of explain why he lingered. But that one, I was like,
the forehead.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll leave that for the viewing audience when they want to go watch that.
So then, how likely would you recommend this movie to others?
I would recommend it. I do think, even in light of stuff today, like I think it's a good movie for people to have conversations about.
Yeah, I think it's a very important movie to watch. I just hope that anyone I recommend it to understands why it's a good movie to watch. And that's the hard part, because I think again, there's that whole balance. When you make the community rough and tumble and kind of hard to be likable, for me, that's endearing. But other people might just be like, well, he's annoying. He should just get a job. It's like, that's the point of the movie. He's tried to have jobs, but he can't have other jobs. So he's like slacking at the one chance he has at a job because nobody's ever given him a proper chance. And you're like, okay, but why doesn't he get a different job? It's like, because he can't. That's the point of him being stuck in a pizza place. But what I will say, before I forget, watching this reminds me of a couple of books. So if you've seen this movie before and you like this kind of like way that discussions are happening, but maybe you don't want to watch something specifically with like Bed-Stuy in New York, I liked, I'm forgetting one of the books. One of them's really good. Oh, Open Water. Open Water is set, and that one's British. I think I've talked with it about it.
I know you mentioned it on the podcast. Yeah. I think it was last year's.
Yeah.
Or not last year, but 2023's book, John.
Yeah. That one starts off as what you think is a romance and then ends up talking about the struggles of being a person of color, specifically a black man in London, and looking at police brutality and a lot of the trauma that's left him unable to really connect to other people properly because he has this constant fear of, I don't want to put myself and others in danger. So, like, there's some similar themes in that. One, like you said, as a fantasy book with multiple perspectives, there's a kind of fantasy, kind of dystopian, not that far in the future one, Chain Gang All-Stars, that everyone was reading last year. That one is also a really good discussion on this. That one takes things where it says, what if not only did we, like, unashamedly increase violence between people of color, what if we did it as prisoners that have to fight for their freedom, and after they kill X amount of people, they're allowed to be free people? And it has a lot of the same themes of, like, the police brutalities, the unwarranted deaths. There's a lot of statistics in the footnotes to talk about previous deaths, the way that the prison system has become what it is, and how it is very prejudiced, like the percentages of certain races that are imprisoned and how they use them as free labor. So that also is like kind of a good book if you like not like the feeling, but are interested by the discussions.
Yeah,
in this.
I know that one's been on my list to get to.
Yeah, that was one of the books, like, me and a few other people in my book club happened to read it. One person said that they stood in their shower and stood at the wall after the ending. I laid on the floor and stared at my ceiling. We were out at like a reading retreat with a friend, and she's like, I'm taking off my glasses. I don't want to see words anymore after like finishing the book. It's a pretty brutal book, but I think it's another one that can lead to really great discussions about race relations specifically and how they're handled in the U.S. And I did have a third book in mind, and I meant to write it down, but then I laid down and like did not feel great today. But there are a lot of books that are in like that I would also recommend as, I guess, companion things to watch. I think Chain Gang All-Stars is a little bit closer to the current time frame, because that one specifically does reference things specifically like George Floyd and everything, which I feel like is a lot more relevant to people, because at the time that Do the Right Thing came out, they do use actual names in the movie as well. Yeah. But those were related to those current events. And unfortunately, there are a lot more current events in terms of actual names you can say about people. So, but I think for anyone that has read books like those and really like thought about it and been able to walk away with it going, the system sucks, then yeah, definitely watch Do the Right Thing. But if it's just so hard, because there's also the whole group of people that go, well, I don't think this Russian property is a good thing. It's like, you're not listening to the full story. Those kinds of people, I think, need to watch the movie the most, but will not take a second to step away and think about or empathize with anybody other than the Sal character.
Yeah. Dummies.
But that's what, I mean, a lot of people have had discussions that, like, with the decline in reading there and critically thinking about media, it's also reduced empathy, and, you know, it's all connected.
Yep. I don't have anything to add. So.
Watching movies and reading books that make you uncomfortable are good for you. That's where I'll set that statement.
What if it's not like a good uncomfortable, but you're like, I wish this was written better.
What? You know that's not what I mean.
I know.
But I've read plenty of those. And I've also read things that people are like, isn't this like kind of a cool scene? And I read it and I go,
No.
no, no. I don't want this to happen to me or anybody else.
Here, I'll just quote a story that I know Hop told me when she mentioned people would be like, honey, read this. And then was like, oh, and then what? I think it was you told someone just to read 5th season, and then it was like, I think you didn't tell me who the person was, but they like came back to you like 2 weeks later, and you're like, I don't know fantasy as I thought I did, or something.
I mean, like, I really you finished 5th season as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard some people say 5th season turns a lot of the fantasy tropes on its head, so it's hard to go back to other fantasy after it, and I can see that. But I also, I don't know how to say it, but, like, honestly, the 5th season also is a movie you could watch if you like the vibes, not like the vibes, if you appreciate the concepts brought about by Do the Right Thing. Because 5th season also has a lot to do, very fantastically so, but it's still increasing tensions with a system that is trying to oppress people.
There's a lot of fantasy books that's a common theme in a lot of fantasy books.
Who would have thought?
Let's see, do I have any fun suggestions? Probably not, because I can't even find my app half the time. What did I read?
Yeah, but I do think 5th season is also by a black author, so I think that's why that one I immediately go, oh yeah, that can also be companion reading for this movie.
What I find funny is seeing people throw out a certain author's book. We've talked about them. It's been confirmed.
It's worse than we thought.
Yes, yeah, it's much worse.
I didn't read any of the articles because I saw someone say, "But be warned, every possible trigger warning is in this article." And I went, okay, I don't need to read it.
I did not see any trigger warnings, and I just was like, people mad. I'm like, well, I heard rumors. I'm like, oh, well then.
I did see a glimpse about a nanny.
There's multiple glimpses of a nanny, but
oh,
yep. So let's we don't have to go down that road. But any poops, mainly because I can't do multiple things at the same time. I wasn't able to look through my book junk, but hey, we're gonna go to Spoiler Town, where hopefully things are, well, spoiled. So yeah, this is your final warning. That's what I should do. I should set the timer. Yeah, this is your final warning as I set up a timer for Spoiler Town, where all things are off the table. So if you guys are worried about if you guys want to watch this movie, hey, pause here or write down the time and come back and listen to our thoughts and stuff. But until then, I'm hitting the timer in 3, 2, 1. My brain defaulted. I wanted to be like Samuel L. Jackson, be just like, "Hey there,
Truth."
I couldn't remember anything he said. My brain just went like, and I'm like,
that was a great opening.
Oh yeah, I'm just sitting there like, is that Samuel Jackson? I was like,
he never took a breath either.
Mm-hmm.
I did enjoy the part where he's delivering him the pizza and he's just in the background like, come on,
yeah,
it's me, give me my food.
Yeah.
But it is a very, like, I think little moments like that, like you said, make everything feel, like, really alive and really, like, it doesn't feel like static scenes. So it's almost like when the scenes are static, you're like, wow, that is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he's arguing with his sister outside of the pizza shop, and I was like, this is a pretty cool scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's able to, like, really capture life on this block. Of just how everyone's there. Like, everybody knows each other. I did sit here and I was like, man, there's just a ton of people just sitting around. And then I remembered it's Sunday. They say that in the beginning, that it's a Sunday.
It's the one day she can sleep in, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm just like, what's going on here? I'm like, because like the pizza shop's open, the grocery store's open, yeah, because that does make sense. But I'm just I'm just like, man, there just seems to be a lot more people around, and I'm like, well, it is the '90s, so or the late '80s. I will say, I existed when this movie came out,
Wow.
so maybe I am the temperature. Probably not.
You're the reason for the boiling.
Yes, I was charging my power.
Mm.
All right,
I do have a discussion question for
Go
you,
ahead.
at least, to kind of kick things off.
I'll end the podcast early if I don't want to talk about it.
So I was Googling like just some little things about the movie, and on our movies, someone asked who actually did the right thing, if anybody, in Do the Right Thing. And I thought that was a pretty interesting thing to get into discussing, because then you can talk about all the overall plot of the movie without us having to like jump around too much.
Mm-hmm. I think it depends on whose perspective you're following, because I think they all believe they were doing the right thing,
Oh, for sure.
except for the son. He was
The
like,
kid was asleep all the time. Hector, or a different son? Or do you mean like...
I don't remember his name. It's Sal's son.
Oh, the oldest son. Yeah, no, he could have had a lot more consequences to his actions.
I was like, so he should have.
I thought you were talking about the son, like Mookie's son. I was like, yeah, he did fine. He just slept the entire movie. He was not awake once.
But yeah, so I don't know. I think Mookie's a good one to start with. Like, well, he's also like the catalyst for the movie. So, because if you think about it, it's just like because I know, like, at first, like, watching the beginning of the movie, it felt like, what are these scenes? What are they doing? They're showing life. But, like, I was starting to, like, think back, and I was reading a couple, like, just articles to be like, okay, did I see things correctly? Is this what's going on? And, like, it could feel like, because there is a change, and I feel like the switch for where some people could see is when Mookie's sister, I'm blanking on her name. Jade comes down to the pizza shop. Because
uncomfy.
Because at that point, Mookie's whole, like, his, like, thing, like, his whole, like, attitude changes, where it's, like, becomes more aggressive against Sal, but, like, and then there's stuff, and then everything's kind of just building up, and, like, you can just see, like, the interactions between Mookie and Sal after that point, like, shift. Understandably so. But if you look at the beginning of, like, in the first half of the movie, Sal is hard on him, but then it's like he has
sweet spots for him.
Yes.
Like, he has a soft spot for him. Like, I'm not going to fire you, but, like, can you do your job?
But, like, at the same time, it's like Mookie is seeing how Sal treats his friends, like, bugging out. Like, whether he was in the right or the wrong, like, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to have a different opinion of bugging out. But it's, like, the pretty much, like, my brain is blanking out, where it's just, he saw how Sal pretty much treated him, yelling at him to get out of the store. I can't remember if Mookie was there when the first Radio Raheem and...
He was not there for the first one, I don't believe. When he was like, get me 2 slices, and he was like, well, you have to turn off the radio. And Radio Raheem's like, no, I am the radio guy. And it's kind of interesting, because the whole movie, everybody, even people that wanted to fight him, were like, I have to respect him. He's not going to back down from his radio. This is who he is. He's committed to it. He has the knuckles. Like, he is his own character. like, because he has the tensions with, I think, the Latino group where they're like, we want to listen to salsa, and he just keeps turning up the music and goes, make me stop, and they're like, you know what, we're gonna yell at you from far away, but like, fine, you win.
I literally thought he wasn't gonna I thought he wasn't gonna talk the whole movie. And
that would have been a really cool, yeah.
And then it's just like, because I thought he was just this silent guy, and then it's just like he's walking away, this kid's like, yeah, radio, and he's like, yeah, and then all of a sudden he's like, let me tell you a story about the right hand, left hand. It's a tale of good. I'm looking at the quote right now. I can't pull that off the top.
I was gonna say that was very good of you. You don't usually have quotes ready.
No, well, I do have them up on the IMDb, and it's the first one. But I'm not gonna go through all that. But yeah, so anyway, he kind of sees like some of the tensions Sal has, like they're not like super aggressive, but at the same time, he never corrects like his son with like,
oh yeah,
the
like
very
his son
racism.
His son clearly says things that are really hateful. Like, bugging out is like he was causing a scene.
Yes.
He is like, I think he has the interesting perspective of like, if you fight for everything, then the things that matter don't become like, people don't believe in those fights anymore. Because like, I understand why bugging out wanted to see people of color on the wall. That's a very fair statement, that like, we patronize your store, isn't it fair you at least have like Jackie Robinson, and Mookie's wearing his uniform like the first half of the movie. Like, there are prominent people of color at that point. And then you also have Samuel L. Jackson, who's listed off tons of famous musicians that have influenced so much of the music industry. You could put one of them on the wall because they were all highly respected. You even have the son that's like, Magic Johnson's a different kind of person, Prince is a different kind of person. They're not different, but in their eyes, they're not the same as people that are poor, which is a very unfair thing to believe. But yeah, so like, while bugging out has a point, he's fighting so hard for something when there are, like Jade says, there are bigger issues in the community. This is not the fight. You can be mad. I'm not telling you don't be mad.
Yeah.
But this is not the fight to fight. And I think Mookie also recognizes it, where he's like, the pizza place has never done anything to you specifically. This is not the fight. But he doesn't know how to phrase it in a way to get bugging out to actually calm down.
Yeah. And then it's like, it moves on to like, Radio Raheem was also making an outburst, and it's just, you can see how it's in like this. If it was today, all we would see is, we wouldn't see anything leading up. We would just see the end scene of the store owner yelling at Radio. But it's just like, Radio came in blasting this music. It is, and then when Sal says, "There's no music played in my store," and then it's like, when he said it, I was like, you know what? That's right. I haven't heard any.
He doesn't
music.
have radio music. Yeah.
Well, he doesn't have any music playing, and like, he's yelling. One, he can't hear him because Radio is blasting the music so loud. So, but it's like, that's one of those things. Like, hey, Radio, if you like lowered your music when you came in, like,
yeah. But Sal could have also just not shouted at him either.
Yeah.
But I guess Sal at that point he's been dealing with a lot.
Yes.
It's a 24-hour movie, essentially.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, so that's like kind of at the middle of the day where the heat is the highest and all that stuff. But yeah, so anyway, like, Sal, like, but to answer the original question, I think Sal believes he was doing the right thing, because he does have that argument with his son where his son's like, hey, why are we even here? We should sell up. He's like, I hate coming here. I don't like the people. I don't like coming. Like, it's just,
I get bullied, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
And Sal does bring up the argument. It's like, our food isn't like too good for them. Like, I've watched most of these kids grow up. I was there, and it's just like, my pizza, like, this is who I'm here. And like, where,
like, without saying it, he's like, we are part of this community, whether you believe it or not.
Yeah, and like, they're definitely, like, compared to what we have seen from most of the people living on the street, they are better off financially.
Yeah, they don't live
there.
This, yeah.
And everything, and we kind of get a taste of that at the end, but it's just like, I do think Sal, even though like where accumulates, I feel like we said we were gonna start with Mookie, but we switched to Sal. But Sal, I do believe that throughout this movie, because he does have that speech where he does believe he's doing the right thing. Now, it's also like he could have been, and then just that one like mistake, like, or not mistake, because it's like, I don't think that's the right word, but anyway, like where it all accumulates at the end, where like the he gets into the fight with radio and all that stuff, and how radio is killed, like pulled off from the cops and everything. And it's, from looking at there, I don't think anybody in that store had time to call the police. So like, I don't know, like it never says who calls the police. Like
they do accuse the oldest son, and I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Found a way. But what I would say is, like, I see your point. Like, Sal does think he's doing the right thing, but Sal could have done something really great. Sal could have said, "Hey, cops, stop." Mm-hmm. You know, like, that's his ultimate crux that he has to live with, right? Yeah. But he also doesn't. I don't know if it ever registers in his character, at least by the end of the movie, because I understand, like, he built up the store from his hands. So he's more, the shitty thing in his arc is he's reflecting on the store when Mookie is like, there's somebody died, and Sal's like, yeah, my store, and Mookie's like, no, somebody died, you know. And it's this whole like, it's like he's not checking his privilege, I guess, as I would say about Sal.
Yeah, and this is where I'm drawing a blank, and it's, I don't know if how recently you watched it. I don't know if you watched it today or yesterday.
Last night.
Yeah. So like, this is something I think I would like to see on a second watch, is because like at that, and like, I'm not here defending Sal. It's just more like, I'm just wondering, it was like, does he, like, because it was a while like where it shows like the cops like kind of choking out Radio Raheem. And like everything goes from there, but I really can't remember at that point, because Sal was like pretty much like surrounded and all that stuff. This is just me, like I can't remember, like at the point when him and Mookie are that conversation, I feel like no, he can't make that conversation, like that argument, because it's like, but I could see in the end, like with everything going on, if he even knew what was going on. But at the same time, I don't remember if the camera showed like what's going on, because there is a lot of movement, a lot of people in that scene. I think
that the implication I got from that final scene, where I think everybody present just watched it happen, because everything does go quiet in the final moments, and then there are people shouting, let him go. Like, you have him. So I think at that point, Sal has been
even
separated.
Cops are yelling it.
Yeah, the particular cop. But that particular cop is the one that's like, he's been looking for excuses, which is unfortunately not very surprising in the American police system. But because it's him, because it's him and the same guy riding the block, just waiting, right? They're like just waiting to have like you do this again, and you know you'll have to pay for this. But I think because of the tense few moments, there are like at least full like comprehensible minutes that the family is on their feet again, nobody's fighting, and everyone's like, hey, you have him. Because Bugging Out has been arrested for quite a bit of time while it's happening, because Bugging Out was dragged from the fight into the police car before he dies. So there's a good full few minutes that in my mind, at least one member of the family should be able to say, like, you've arrested him, you can chill out now.
Yeah. And,
like, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not here to like defend the people. This is more me. I'm like, what we see presented in the movie, I just don't remember. So, I don't know. Well, we talked about Sal. We meant to start off with Mookie, but
we could go, that's what I said, it can go in any direction, because I think this is just a good encapsulating thing for us to talk about the overall plot without like,
yeah,
because it jumps around a bit.
How about you? You can choose a character now.
I mean, like, it's all a much of perspective. I do like this one particular take on the thread where they said that the title is ironic, right? Because there's a lot of discussion between the two leaders, Malcolm X and Martin Luther, throughout the entire movie. It opens with Smiley kind of like talking about them and saying, like, you know, he has the picture of them shaking hands. And the Reddit user said, like, the two of them, even though they were both thought leaders of the time that were looking to create equality, they couldn't even agree on what the right source of actions are, which you can see in the final quotes, where you have Martin Luther who says, violence begets violence and is a means but not an end, essentially, like TLDR. And it's like very true, because as you spread violence, you spread hate, you spread benevolence. It's really hard to come back from violent acts to prove a point. But then Malcolm X has the viewpoint like, but they're violent to us. If we're not violent back, then we'll all die. Yeah. And he says, like, self-defense, I don't even think of it as violence, which is also, like, in the context of the times, it's hard to find the balance between those two cruxes, because they're both almost necessary for, unfortunately, like, what's depicted in Do the Right Thing. You have so much human life that's, like, teetering on, like, most of those people don't have air conditioning, but they are all aware, like, all of New York City is under a heat wave. They don't have air conditioning. And it's not because they don't want air conditioning. It's not because they can't have air conditioning. It's that the houses were built and we're like, you know what? It's a cheap house. You got to make do with what you have. And that's a whole community of people. It's not just 5 people. So it's, of course, tensions are rising because everyone's like, the whole fire hydrant scene I thought was a really cool way of showing, like, with what little they have to figure out how to be okay.
Yeah.
In all of this.
And then stick it to the rich guy.
Yeah. The guy in the car was so funny. I was so scared police brutality was going to start so early on in the movie.
Yeah, it was like,
but then they clearly also hated that guy, which was also fine. But
it's like, we can't do it in the daylight.
We got to wait for the excuse. But yeah, like, it's hard for me to, like, because you have side characters like Jade. She says all the right things, right? But she's almost passive, where, like, there's the uncomfortable part with Sal, where she's like, well, I'm getting free pizza. I'm using the man to get something I want. And Mookie's like, but if you keep doing that, he's going to keep asking for more, and that puts you in danger. And Jade's like, no, I'm a grown woman. I know what's going on. And Mookie's like, but I'm a guy, and I know how guys' minds work. You can't just, like, keep using this guy for free pizza. You don't know what's going to, like, escalate. So, like, she's not doing anything wrong inherently in the movie, but at the same time, she's still stuck in the same systems as everybody else.
Yeah.
I did see some people argue, like, the mayor is doing the right thing, and it's hard for me to, like, say the mayor is a good guy. He has good intentions, but he's also clearly struggling with a lot of stuff and doesn't know how to cope and doesn't have the respect of the community. So, like, in his heart, he's trying to be a hero. And, like, he does at least try to save some lives, right? Because he does separate Sal and his family. Because he's like, I don't care who you are. Nobody's dying tonight.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like, the thought that just came to my head with when you were quoting or giving the paraphrase quotes of Martin Luther and Malcolm X, like, we kind of have those ideologies played out on the screen, where bugging out is Malcolm X, and Mayor is Martin Luther. Now, for people start coming at me, I'm not saying that those are those characters.
Perfect representations, yeah.
I don't even think the representations of those people in general. I'm just saying more of the ideology, like, maybe, like,
their calls to action.
Yeah, because it's like, because Mayor, like, uncharacteristically, like, saves the kid, and just, like, and even when the kid's, like, clearly in the wrong for, like, lying and all that stuff, to be like, I don't care about this old man, and he's just, and then he tells him truth, and then it's just, like, has compassion. He's like, you don't have to hit him so hard, and the mom turns around, like, you can't tell me how to raise him. I can't. I forget what the line is. She's just like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
Not even his dad tells me how to raise him.
Yeah, and then, and just, like, as you were saying, like, the other example of him pulling out Sal's family and all that stuff, and, like, he showed up at different points as a peacekeeper, while, and I will admit, I don't know, I might know a lot more about Malcolm X's history after next week, but I'm not going to claim knowing as much, but it's just in pretty much the way he was, because I always heard then he was, I don't, more aggressive in how he fought for it.
He was portrayed as being more aggressive.
Yes.
I personally haven't read a lot of his works because, again, schools really like to teach Martin Luther. In the American system, they don't like to teach Malcolm X. But I have listened to some of the works by Angela Davis, who I don't think she was necessarily part of the Black Panther Party with Malcolm X, but I think she was kind of like, I guess, I don't want to say coexisting, but she was also fighting for Black rights in the same time frame as him. And the interesting thing to consider is Angela Davis, I forget what community she was specifically a part of, but she was labeled a terrorist for a very long time in her lifetime. So I think Malcolm X was also given that same kind of moniker because, like you said, a lot of historians, depending on their biases, will say, like, oh, he wanted to hurt people. It's like, or maybe he just, like, wasn't as much of a pacifist as Martin Luther was. Because, like, yeah. Because Martin Luther, he's very well known for his speeches. He's known for his peace walks. He's known for his marches and everything like that.
Yeah. And, like, the bugging out was very much, like...
He was very vocal.
Yeah.
He was,
so and it was interesting how, like, Mayer wanted peace and bugging out wanted action, but the majority, like, of the people there didn't want either.
Yeah, they were like, the status quo is comfortable enough. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to change things. I can wake up, do my job, and go to bed. I remembered another book.
What?
My government means to kill me. That one is more isolated, though, on, like, the AIDS epidemic through New York City in the 80s. But that one is told from the perspective of a gay Black main character who's in the city, and he ends up having conversations with different thought leaders and ends up confused on kind of like the same thing, where some people are like, in order to have equality, we need to approach things this way. But then other people are like, well, we've tried that peaceful way. It doesn't work. So I need to escalate things, i.e., like you said, bugging out. So I think The Government Means to Kill Me is also another interesting one to listen to because it has kind of like a cool historical fiction description of the different thought leaders and how they would explain something to a newcomer. Because, of course, the main character in that, he's younger, like bugging out, and is like, I'm angry at everything, so I have to change everything. But the elders are like, kind of like the mayor, well, if you go out and change all this stuff too fast, it hurts the entire community. Everything's going to be ripped apart. So, books.
Trying to think if there's any other kind of prominent characters.
Yeah, I'll read out what else they wrote in the Reddit about, quote unquote, who did the right thing. This top liked one says Vito. That's the youngest son, right?
I believe. I'll double check, but I believe so. Oh. Vito. That does not help me at all. Yes, the youngest.
The youngest, yeah. And I guess, like, he has some moments where he's like, I don't know if he necessarily ever did the right thing, but he at least was like, he wasn't an antagonist.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I like Mookie, I get along with Mookie, but of course he has his influences, i.e. his older brother, who's a much more of a physical force.
Pino.
Yeah, Pino. Because, and then I think what Pino also accuses Vito of wanting to, like, get together with Jade or something like that, even though Pino doesn't yell at his dad for clearly wanting to do the same thing. Because I think when they're in that fridge locker thing, they have the whole argument about, like, you don't mix. And I was like, oh, Pino, you're annoying. But I did like Mookie's reaction to him. He's like, your hair is just as curly as mine. Did you forget Italian Americans were also considered people of color back in the day? Pino's like, I'm not like you.
Yeah.
Let's see. And this Reddit also talks about Sweet Dick Willie.
Yeah. I had the quotes up, and yeah, he had some pretty interesting lines, but when Goggin Alkin's like, we're gonna go boycott Sal, and he's like, you want to boycott someone? You want to start with the barber that effed up your head.
I thought he was a very fun character, and I also thought he was a cool grounding character because anytime like things started to rise tensions wise, like people are like, you know what, I hate those people at the grocery store. He's like, what's wrong with the people at the grocery store? They haven't done anything to you. They're just trying to have a grocery store on the corner. You know what? I'm gonna go shop at the grocery store because they're fine.
Yeah.
And like he does have a lot
Nick
of those.
Needs
like,
a beer.
and they're like, no more free beer, and he's like, I asked for a free beer, but can you pour me a beer?
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely seemed like that that guy in the town that everyone knows, and just like it's like kind of what the mayor wanted to be, where everyone like kind of likes him. Where Sweet Dick's like, I don't get in anyone's trouble. I'm just here. We're gonna just relax. I'm gonna call out my idiot friends from time to time, and yeah, we'll just go there. But yeah, because I can't remember. Is he's the one like that kind of also like relaxes the whole crowd when they're like, oh, we got Sal's, let's go get the grocery store.
Yeah, because his one older friend, the one that talks about living on the boat and like the ice caps melting and everything, he's very like, he starts to get charged up. But the guy's like, look, this family is honestly no different than us. Like they don't have like the same privilege. Like they might have some privileges, but they're not that different than say like he can recognize like Sal as an Italian American living in a different neighborhood that is an Italian American neighborhood because I think they mentioned the name of the neighborhood, but like Sal's like there's too many Italian pizza places there already.
Yeah.
We can't just open up another one. But yeah, this general consensus from the Reddit seems to be like the point of it is that nobody does the right thing because it's the movie is just a highlight on racial tensions and how it's really hard to do the right thing when you have like a big old simmering boiling pot of tensions that are just
It's
like you keep trying to put the lid on it but you can't.
It's like the rising temperatures was a metaphor for what was happening. What? Yeah. I don't know. We got like a minute and a half left. Was there anything?
I think that was an overall good discussion because we kind of just hit on all the characters. Because like even though like Mookie is not an unlikable character, he's terrible with responsibilities.
Yeah.
He's got a whole kid and wife, and he's like, I'm busy working. You're walking distance, sir. And she knows you're walking distance, and she has to order a pizza for her to see you. Like, you're not working that hard. Oh, and I did like the zoom in of everyone using every possible slur they could think of because it made me go, they all sound so silly, and that's what you should take away from it. That like using all these words makes you sound like you're so disconnected from reality. Because some of the words I was just like, where did he come up with these words?
Yep. I was trying to see if there's any fun goofs or things in here. Let's see. I think I noticed that there's characters. It's like when Mookie and Jade are talking outside the pizzeria, she says to him, I'm tired of supporting a grown woman. And a few seconds later, she says, I'm tired of supporting a grown man. Like, there's that. Let's see. Let's see. These are spoilers, but we're in spoiler town. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. None of those are actually fun. Let's see. Are there any fun quotes? Just doing a quick scan. When Radio Raheem is yelling at just like, give me 20 de-energizers. What? They're just like, just all yelling at each other. It's like, just give me the batteries. What's the date on them? Count them. I was like, how do people like you, Radio? Let's see. Yeah, I don't see any. There were some things that just like I can't remember all the time we had, but there was some lines that just cracked me up, like just the humor of either the situation or what they said. I'm just like, it did crack me up, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. But in the end, I guess just to do a quick closing, I do think this would be I wouldn't mind watching this movie again, because I'm pretty sure there's stuff I missed, and stuff like that. So, and it's really well done. So I am excited to see what is next with Malcolm X. We have Malcolm X coming up next, and yeah, that should be a lot of fun. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed this, I don't know. We'll offer the question to you guys if you listen this far. First, thank you, but also, hey, who do you guys think did the right thing? Let us know in the comments. If you're on YouTube, I know there's Spotify comments. I don't know how they work, but hey.
There's at least ratings.
Yeah, rate them. Yeah, so I will say I did notice that a bunch of people did listen at least to 2001 Space Odyssey. At the time of this recording, only 2 of the episodes came out. So, like, we're above our normal average. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Hello, new people,
yeah.
if you've stuck around this far.
Yeah, if you stuck around, welcome. Hopefully we didn't turn you off with their opinions of Stanley Kubrick. But no. This is fun, and I don't know.
Good movies.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like 8 hours.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you everyone for watching or listening. And yeah, we'll be back next week with Malcolm X. And until next time, talk to you later. Toodles.